Hi, and welcome to Enchantment of Eternity's review for Vikings Season 4, Episode 4, Yol. This video is a part of a series of videos where I review episodes of Vikings. I don't really look at the history of the show, I'm just a guy watching a scripted, narrative-based TV show and am reviewing it on that basis. But I will have to give a spoiler warning for Vikings up to Season 4, Episode 4. If you have not seen up to this point, you may not want to watch this video, otherwise some things may be spoiled for you. So, let's start in Paris, where we see a sudden change in circumstance for Rollo as his wife prepares to divorce him. He reveals that he speaks their language, and suddenly she wants him. So, to be perfectly frank, pun intended, I had many problems with this scene. For one, it seems odd that her father would allow her to divorce Rollo, as in the past he seemed to be forcing her to marry him and seemed to want it really badly in order to acquire Rollo's help against the Vikings. Two, it seems unrealistic that Rollo now speaks their language perfectly and no one really noticed. Have you ever tried learning a second language? It's hard and it takes time. Granted, they say it's easier if you're living in a country where that language is commonly spoken and they're constantly surrounded by it, but still, it takes a wee while for someone to learn to speak it as good as he did. So I found it really hard to believe that he could do it without her noticing. Three, the fact that she all of a sudden went from being disgusted by him and wanting to kill him to thinking he was hot and wanting to rip his clothes off just because he learned her language is a bit hard to swallow. Yeah, I know there's a bit more to it than that, but that's essentially what it boils down to. Four, as I mentioned before, I felt Rollo's sudden change in character where he really wants to be part of Paris and really wants the princess to be his wife, all of a sudden to be a bit unbelievable. But at this stage, I'll just roll with it. So anyway, the scene where the royal family was eating Christmas dinner and Rollo and the princess went into the next room to screw and everyone could hear exactly what was going on was quite a funny scene. I must admit, I was laughing a lot at that scene. So then we have some scenes in Wessex where they get a visit from the King of Northumbria to talk about what they're going to do about the rebellion in Mercia. Queen Gwynthryth wants the forces of Northumbria and Wessex to join forces and invade, but the King of Northumbria doesn't seem too keen on the idea and suggests he doesn't want Gwynthryth's son to be king of Mercia one day because he is the son of Ragnar Lothbrok, whom he despises. Now this is something I haven't mentioned in any of my reviews yet, but I really don't think her son is Ragnar Lothbrok's son. We never actually saw the two of them shack up on screen, nor was there any hints that the two of them shacked up. And Gwynthryth, well, let's face it, she's crazy, so I wouldn't put it past her to lie about this. In fact, I strongly feel that she is lying, but we'll see. And earlier at a party, the King of Northumbria notices that Gwynthryth and Æthelwulf are flirting, and also that King Ecgbert and Judith are flirting, so he figures out what's going on right away and yells at Judith about it and tells her if Æthelwulf asks for his permission to beat her to death, he would grant it. But Judith wasn't intimidated at all by this. It was just like, screw you, I'll do as I please. Which was rather interesting. I'm curious to see where they take things from here. So, back in Norway, we get to see the Berserker catch up to Bjorn and try to kill him, but as expected, he fails and Bjorn gets the better of him and guts him in a very brutal scene. Now, I have to say, I'm quite a fan of Bjorn, and I'm liking his character more and more. I loved seeing him be so badass in these scenes. That being said, the Berserker conflict felt a bit anticlimactic somehow after all of the build-up. I'm not sure what I was expecting, but it didn't seem worth the build-up. So then Bjorn goes back to Lagertha and Kalf's town, and I'll be perfectly honest, I was really confused by this scene. I'm sure someone in the comment section will point out to me what happened while insulting me, but hey, I never claimed to be an expert on this show. I'm just some guy watching it, and I really didn't know what was going on here. Bjorn has that ring from the Berserker. Does he know it's from King Horik's son? Does he know Kalf was involved? He seemed to be acting like he did, so why did he just ask to take that one woman away from King Horik's son? But didn't seem to care that it meant that she couldn't take her own son with her. Why was that okay? Why was he okay with that? Why was she okay with that? What was the point of all of it? I'm sorry, but I don't get it. Feel free to let me know what I'm missing. So finally, let me get to Ragnar Lothbrok. We finally get the romance between Ragnar and the Chinese slave girl that I saw coming from a million miles away, and I was not looking forward to it. It went down the typical cliched manner that I expected. What was more interesting here was seeing Aslog's scheming, as she said that she was all good with Ragnar screwing the slave girl. In fact, I wonder if she chose her specifically for that reason, because in fact, she doesn't care about Ragnar anymore. In fact, I don't think even likes him anymore and wants to keep him distracted so she can sneak off to Floki and have him teach her son the Viking ways rather than Ragnar, whom she no longer thinks is worthy because he stuck up for the Christians too much. So if Ragnar is spending all this time with the Chinese slave, then that's less time he'll spend with Ivar, and so she can spirit him away over to Floki instead. And of course Floki and Helga would be keen to raise a son after the loss of their daughter. And then at the end we meet this king from a far off land who shows up out of the blue. He claims it's to meet Ragnar, but later reveals it's to kill him in order to marry Aslog and become king of Norway. And Aslog, of course, seems totally on board with this, and with Ragnar in a weakened state through his sickness, it seems possible now. Personally, I'm not really excited about the storyline. I think they did this whole "I want to kill Ragnar Lothbrok" storyline way too many times already. I just don't care anymore. But the best case outcome for this storyline in my mind would be for Aslog to somehow get killed in the event. Personally, I never liked her in the first place, but now she's outright annoying. And then of course we see Bjorn return, and I'm more interested to see how that plays out, as Bjorn seems to have more self-confidence after his little spiritual quest. So I wonder if he'll be involved in this little incident between that other king. So my rating for Yola out of 10 is a 6. Good. An okay episode. There was a lot of sex in this episode. A few things I liked, a few things I didn't like, a few things I didn't understand. I like Bjorn and what they're doing with him. Not too down for these drawn out romances between Ragnar and the Chinese girl, or another failed assassination attempt on Ragnar, but it's another cog in the machine, so I'll wait and see where they take things from here. So that's it for my review of Yol. Be sure to check back here every week as I review episodes of Vikings, and be sure to check out my channel for many other videos on shows like Game of Thrones, Star Trek, The Walking Dead, Better Call Saul, House of Cards, and more. And make sure you subscribe so you can keep up with all of that. And thanks a lot for watching.